A few people have asked me, did I buy the Warhammer 40k Armageddon box? And I didn't know, because I don't really care about orcs. Like, I don't want any of those models, and there was only 1 or 2 Space Marines I actually wanted. So I gave the box a miss, but I have picked up one of those 2 Space Marines that I wanted. So that's what we're going to be doing today, building up and painting the Ancient. Well, I mean, I've got all of them here off the sprue, but I mean, the banner's the best part in it. Look how cool that is. So yeah, in this video, we're going to build up and fully paint the Ancient as a Black Templar. And also, I want to kitbash it a little bit, change out 1 or 2 things to make him a little bit more Black Templar-y. And here is our Primaris Ancients from the Armageddon box, all in these little bits and pieces that I've clipped off, plus a couple little extras, because like I mentioned in the intro, I want to kitbash a little bit and change only 3 things to be fair. 3 minor things, just to A, make him a little bit more Black Templar-y, and B, I want to, whatever we transition into the first thing actually, is I want to get rid of this bolt gun and replace it with a power sword, because A, that is an option that the Ancient has. I just looked at the data card online and he can take a power sword, or a power weapon, sorry. And B, if he has a banner and a sword, I should be able to run him as a Black Templar Crusade Ancient. So the Black Templar Crusade Ancient is just our version of the Ancient, and all he has is a banner and a power sword. So I'm hoping if I build him in that way, I can have another Crusade Ancient for my Black Templar army, because I've got a new list brewing that's all about Ancients that I'll get into later on in this video. But what I've done is I've got the body here, and I've just found this sword arm. So I had this guy left over from another box I brought. It was the sword, I think it's just from a Space Marine Lieutenant kit that came with one of the bundle boxes I brought. So I just clipped off this arm because it's an absolute perfect fit. So if we grab this dude, actually, let's grab some blue tack just so we can temporarily hold it in place. Yeah, look at that. Absolutely perfect. So it fits right. It's a nice pose, a good shape. And then if we pretend the banner's on his hand, yeah, look how cool that is. Like this big wide stance, banner in the air, sword in the other hand, already looking like a Black Templar. But one other thing I've got is I've just got, with this new arm, he has space for a shoulder pad now. So I've got a Black Templar, big chunky thick shoulder pad. That's just going to go on the shoulder there. I mean, yeah, look at that dude, already looking like a thick Templar. That's looking great. And I guess the only other third thing I'm going to add to him, really minor, is a helmet. It's just a normal Space Marine helmet, but it's got a little like Templar cross in it. Cool, so I'm going to build the rest of the guy off camera. I think I'm going to do some sub-assemblies, which just means that I'm not going to glue the arms on, or the helmet, I don't think, and maybe the one shoulder pad, just because that way it'll be easier to get into sections and whatnot and paint like underside of his arm, or like this part of the body down here that would normally be covered by a sword. Just means it's easier to get into certain places, and then we'll glue the rest of the bits on at the end. And here is our Primaris Ancient, all primed up, and like I mentioned, in that sub-assembly. So we've got the main body here that we're going to start with. Oh, actually, no, sorry, hold on. There we go. So we've got our Primaris Ancient, all sub-assembled. We've left these pieces off just so it's easier to get into certain sections. In terms of how we're going to paint him up though, like I mentioned, he's going to be a Black Templar, and the recipe I'm going to use is actually an older one that I used to use a long time ago. So recently on my Black Templars, I've been sort of trying out like edge highlighting a lot, using Abaddon Black as a base coat, the more traditional like Games Workshop heavy metal style, just to try and refine my skills and whatnot. But I thought, you know, it'd be really fun to go back and to an older scheme that I used when I first started painting to see how much I've improved, you know, see if this old scheme that I used to use is good with these sort of like new skills. I say new skills, my improvements I've made just generally as a painter. So, as you can see, we're starting off with a coat of Black Templar contrast paint. We're just going to do this over all of the armor panels on top of this grey primer that we've used. Then after this, we're going to do a big dry brushing of Russ Grey over all of the armor panels. And then after that, we'll put down a coat of Nuln Oil over everything. And that just dials in some of those dry brushing highlights. It also darkens down the mini, the recesses, and gives a really cool, like, dark metallic look. Yeah, just to explain the whole Nuln Oil over the top of the Russ Grey dry brushing we just done, just because I think you don't need to do that if you don't want to, but I just thought I could show what it does, like the before and after. So if we actually zoom in even more, oh yeah, look at that. So yeah, we've got this leg here on the left. That's what we've just put the Nuln Oil on, and you can see it kind of darkens down and tones back some of that Russ Grey, so it's not as obnoxious, but still leaves like some of it. And then on the right side, we haven't done any of it. No Nuln Oil, so it's still quite prominent, quite sort of like there and vibrant. Like I mentioned, you don't actually have to sort of add the Nuln Oil. If you want to keep that base of Black Templar and Russ Grey, you can just leave it like that. What I will say is we are going to do some more highlights after this, so if you're looking at this leg over here and you're like, oh, it's not a bit too bland, it's a bit too dark, we are going to slap some Fenrisian Grey and some Blue Horror edge highlights over most of it anyway after this, so they will pop a little bit more. Right, that's all of the armour done. So we did the black panels, the dry brushing, the Nuln Oil, and then some edge highlights. I just did a little bit of Fenrisian Grey and then Blue Horror on the like most upper facing sections. I also just slipped in a little bit of Basilicanum Grey in the armour ribbons. I don't like just doing black ribbons and black armour. I feel like it's a bit blobby, so I like to put a nice like sort of Basilicanum Grey. Looks nice on a grey prime because you get those little bits poking through. But yeah, it's also super interesting coming back to a recipe that you used to use a lot. Like I mentioned, this was my like go-to at the start, and now that I've got a few more brush strokes under my belt, it's really interesting to come back with a new perspective, because now I can spot some of the issues with this dry brushing Nuln Oil approach. So I think the main problem is, I think once you put the Russ Grey down and then Nuln Oil over the top, the jump from that to Fenrisian Grey is quite a lot. Like around the side here, you can kind of see at the bottom, there is a hint of Russ Grey, then it jumps to Fenrisian. There's a bit of like a jump up. So I think what I might do in the future, if I was to try this again, so just try and get this bit here, not on the armour. Whoop. I'd like to try and, instead of dry brushing Russ Grey, dry brushing just straight Fenrisian. Or if I am going to dry brush the Russ Grey, maybe also reapply some Russ Grey with some edge highlights. But I think I'll try the Fenrisian dry brush first, just because that Nuln Oil you put on afterwards, I really like how it looks and what it does to the black armour, but it really darkens down those highlights. So maybe if you start with Fenrisian Grey, it won't look as like bright and bold, because the Nuln Oil might like shade it down. The only issue with that is where do you go from there? Maybe a couple re-highlights of Fenrisian straight into Blue Horror? I don't know actually. So just stuck some Zandri Dust on this tabard. I'll probably do another coat of this as well because it's a bit thin. But what we're going to do next is just patch in these details on the chest and then move on to the big banner. Because A, this banner is cool and awesome and like the best looking thing ever, and I'm keen to get stuck in. And B, I want to talk about the Vindication Task Force Black Templar army I'm thinking of. And that'll be a good thing to talk about with the banner. So we're just painting up the leather bits. We've done Mournfang Brown, Agrex Earthsahde, and now we're just doing an edge highlight of Mournfang. I've also got some XV88, which I might do some spatterings of. And I'm just thinking, like, I've been painting Red Corsairs so much recently, and on my Red Corsairs I do the leather as green, just because I like the way green looks against the red armour. Like this sort of like muted military camo green against the bright, vibrant armour. So much so, I've been doing that so much recently that it almost feels weird painting leather brown, which is so strange to say because leather is brown. But it's just been quite nice to like paint the same details on different minis but do them different, if that makes sense. Right, so there's all of the armour, the shoulder pads, all the details on the torso, like the full body essentially, pretty much done. And it's looking really nice actually, I'm quite happy with it. I always forget how much I enjoy painting Black Templars and also trying to sort out lighting. That'll do. Yeah, I always forget how much I enjoy like the contrast on Black Templars, like I mentioned, that dark armour, but then the bright shining like gold elements. I love tabards, man. I really, really enjoy them. Like, I really struggled with them when I first started. It's really hard to highlight cloth, I find. I think because sometimes the lines between the shadow and the raised areas are so sharp. It's like if you put Zandri Dust and then Agrex Earthsahde, then relayer some Zandri Dust, it's like there's no smooth transition. It's just like blocky. So I think I've found that really watering down the highlights and the relayering of Zandri Dust and Ushabti Bone and like almost glazing it on, that helps a lot. And also doing a 50-50 mix of like Zandri and Ushabti Bone to try and bridge the gap, that's helped a lot. So next up, we're just going to jump straight onto this banner, the main event. I'm really, really keen to do this. I was not sure if I wanted to do it like black, because that's what it is in like the box art and stuff, but black banner, black armor, it's always going to like meld into one. So I think I'm going to do it like the shoulder pads, red. So I start with Khorne, then Mephiston, then some spots of Evil Sunz. And here it is, the massive Armageddon banner. It is really cool, man. I think it's super intimidating as well, like these banners I find. When you first look at them, they're like, oh my god, how do I paint that? But I think once you break it down into a few manageable steps, it's not too bad. So what we're going to do, like I mentioned, is we're actually going to paint it all red. So we're going to start with Khorne Red, and then I think I'm going to do some dry brushing. This paint's a little bit too thick, actually. And then we're going to like highlight it with some other reds, probably with a dry brush, just because I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, so the Black Templar army I want to start is, the detachment is called Vindication Task Force. And if you don't know what that is, I would not blame you, because it's a Black Templar detachment, and all of our detachments have been pretty pants recently. But this one rolls all around Ancients, and I think it's actually gotten a little bit better with 11th edition. So the army rule is that when an attack targets your unit, if there's an Ancient in it, and the strength is greater than the toughness, which it always will be, because Black Templars are made of paper mache, and you're on an objective. So I know it's obviously a lot to a lot of criteria to meet, but if you meet all three of those, an Ancient, stronger attacks, and you're on an objective, it's -1 to wound. So your guys will get a little bit tougher. Ancients across the board have just kind of gone down in points. Like this dude from the Armageddon box is 40 points. The Crusade Ancient went down to 55 points, I think, or was it 45? Excuse me, sorry, they've gone down to 45 points. So yeah, I think the thing with this detachment is it's not one massive thing where it's like, oh my god, this huge like buff or this huge like change has made it really good. I think there's just been so many minor changes. It's all kind of starting to add up a little bit. And it's all like all little minor like buffs. So like I mentioned, -1 to wound. Ancients are only like 45 points. They're real cheap. There's a couple cool little like stratagems and detachments in this detachment. Like for example, I've also brought a Blade Guard Ancient. Those guys are absolutely terrible, to be fair, but I'm hoping they're so cheap, and with the enhancement, sorry, I'm thinking about, they might be quite good. So this has got an enhancement that gives that unit deep strike. So I kind of like the idea of just grabbing a Blade Guard Ancient, attaching him to 6 Blade Guard veterans, giving him that enhancement, and giving a whole big brick of them deep strike. So yeah, I'm just going to try it. So we're picking up this Ancient, the Blade Guard one, and maybe a few more, and see if we can build out a list of Ancients that maybe make our units a little bit tougher, harder to kill, and then some cool enhancements and stratagems. Plus, I mean, also, look at this banner. How cool is it? And I feel like Ancients fits the Black Templar vibe so well. It's such a cool imagery of having this huge banner waving over a black tide of like Crusaders and Sword Brothers. Yeah, it should be really, really cool. Right, you'll have to stick with me here. So that's all of the reds done on the banner. We put the base of Khorne, Did some Nuln Oil just to darken those recesses, and then we relayered up the 3 stages of red with a dry brush, so Khorne, Mephiston, and then Evil Sunz, every time going a little bit lighter just to catch the edges. It looks really nice up here along the top. Got some nice raised areas. It's kind of hard to see around the other sections. The back's looking alright. But you can see, like, I think this is just, I don't know if this is a issue with dry brushing or just maybe me being messy and using too big of a brush, but this is why we start with the dry brushing first before the other details, just because look at the state of the rest of it. It's gone all over, like this tassel, the script down here. I mean, this sword is going to be gold eventually, but it's just covered in red. But yeah, that's why we do the red first. But it's looking really cool, and I think it will look really good once we fill in the other colours. It's just hard to see. There we go, there's some of the colours done on the parchments and the white. It's looking really, really nice. I like using the same base colour on like the same things, like the white, not white, Wraithbone on all of the parchment, but then doing different washes to kind of give it some variety, but it also keeps that cohesion of like the same colour. So like we did some watered down Agrex Earthsahde on these with a little bit of edge highlighting. Seraphim Sepia on this with the text filled in black. I'm a really big fan of the text. It's a little bit irregular, some are a bit fuller than others, but I kind of like that. Kind of makes it more like, you know, weared and teared and old and falling apart. And then also put some Agrex Earthsahde on the purity seal down here. I put loads, I didn't even water it down, so I just lathered it on. But looking nice. I also put the whites on. I did put a thin layer of Nuln Oil on this big circle in the middle, just because without it, it was like a plain disc. But I think it'll look all right now, because we're going to chuck a big like Templar cross on it. Yeah, there we go. So I've got some of these black Templar crosses. We'll probably just put one. Yeah, there you go. One of these like infantry ones should fit on there. Tell you what, this banner has got a lot more gold on it than I thought. I feel like I've been highlighting it for absolutely ages. Although I'm quite happy with how it's looking. I definitely think my gold highlighting could do with a little bit of work. There's so many like straight lines like down here. I'm just looking at that, I'm like, maybe there should be a little highlight there. But one thing I do really like on these banners is like the folds. It's like here it kind of pokes out a little bit, so you can just highlight the whole thing. And maybe a tiny bit here that pokes out. Like the bumpy up and down makes highlighting quite fun because you can get really creative with like, oh yeah, at the top here, there we go. So up here there's like a bump just there that comes out. There's a divot and a bump next to it. So yeah, you can get real creative with the layers and stuff, it's fun. But I will say the gold has added quite a lot. I've still got to highlight this thing at the top actually, although I'm half tempted to leave it quite dark and grim, just because the banners are quite bold with the white and the, like the shiny gold. So maybe having a big dark thing at the top might be quite nice, although I will put some highlights just on the really raised sections, like the eyebrows, and then maybe some of the tips of these flowers or reefs or whatever it is. So I did actually film me painting these like flames. I tried to wet blend Mephiston Red, Trollslayer Orange, and Flash Gitz Yellow. Like I put them all down really wet. I was trying to meld them together, but as you can see, it was an absolute state. So what I'm doing now is just kind of glazing those 3 colours. I've got like a Mephiston Red, Trollslayer Orange kind of mix on the palette just over here. And I've watered it down really thinly, and I'm just trying to like glaze that over and get some smooth-ish transitions that way. Just trying to like actually be careful with what I'm doing rather than just slapping paint everywhere. So that's what those 3 colours are, just trying to blend them and sort of glaze them together. It was a lot harder than I thought. And then it's kind of fading into the banner, so I've just kind of edge highlighted some of it with some Evil Sunz Scarlet to try and make it stand out. I think that's pretty much everything for this banner. We've just slapped on the black skulls and then filled in some of these details down here, just painted them some colours with some transfers. And I could not be happier with this. This is so cool. Actually, that's a lie. There's one or two things I could be happier with. We'll touch on it in the outro and the review, but for now it's looking so good, and it's going to look even better when we eventually slap it onto our dude just here. Yeah, look at that. I'm excited to see what the whole package looks like when it's all finished and done. But speaking of finished and done, we're pretty close now. I think there's only one big thing left, and that is the sword. What I'll say is, so I've got this sword. I'm going to paint this skull gold, the handle brown, and then like the guard of it gold as well. But for the blade, what I want to do is the same effect I do on all of my Black Templars. So if you've watched the channel before, you'll know that for the mastercrafted power weapons and the swords, I make them this like molten glowing effect. Yeah, like that. Like a cool little thing across all of my army. Nice cohesion, looking really nice. But what I will say is, one new thing I picked up is an airbrush. And I know, scary, but stay with me. I really want to try this out with an airbrush because I feel like the blending of the colours would turn out quite well. And like I mentioned, it's a new shiny toy I kind of want to play with. But what I will say before we go into this section, because I still need to set up the airbrushing station and everything, is I have done this before without a brush. So I'll leave a link in the description to one of my previous videos. So if you want to follow this and do the same effect, I'll leave a link down below for one I've done in a previous video with a timestamp, so you can see how it's done with a brush. I'll also leave the original Duncan Rhodes video that I followed for that sort of effect. So yeah, like I mentioned, if you've not got an airbrush and you want to do this as well, there are some references and you can do it. And here we are, the airbrush setup. So we've got the airbrush on the right and then the painting area on the left. You'll also have to excuse me, I'm having to do a voiceover just because, yeah, I've got a gas mask on. So I can't talk and do the painting at the same time. But we're just going to kick things off with a little bit of Troll Slayer Orange. So the whole point of this burning blade and how you achieve the effect is, yeah, a smooth transition between red, orange and yellow, getting closer to the power node because that's where all the heat would come from. So that would be the hottest and brightest point. But just put on some Troll Slayer Orange. I do think the first round I put in was way too thin. Like, yeah, look at that. It's basically water on the blade. I don't know if maybe I was too close for that consistency. Like, maybe that consistency is okay if you're further away, but as you can see, I was quite close, and yes, it was just water running off the blade. It was terrible. So I put some more paint in, thickened it up, and it's a much nicer consistency. And yeah, I flipped it over, and it's a real smooth application, which is exactly what I wanted from the airbrush. And then after that, we just did the same, but we just topped it up with a little bit of Flash Gitz yellow. So this is like a 50-50 mix. And then worked a little bit further down the blade. So again, like I mentioned, a little bit closer to that power node to add a little bit of a brighter, more yellowy orange. And then just carry on doing the same. I put pure Flash Gitz yellow in the blade airbrush and then sprayed over just the power node section because, like I mentioned, that's where the heat would be coming from. So that should be the hottest. And yeah, look at that, just sort of building up those transitions of red, orange and yellow, looking really good. I then quickly also just off camera, and then I guess in this section as well, went back to the reds and the oranges just to apply some more to the top and the bottom of the blade. Because yeah, the heat and the yellow would be coming out of the power node, but the top and the bottom would have like, be the coolest sections where the heat's kind of dissipating, so they'd be slightly darker. And then we put the airbrush down finally and just sort of topped up the final section, which is doing some chip damage of Rhinox hide around the edge of the blade, as if the heat itself is like breaking and cracking the blade. Right, there's our first ever attempt at airbrushing the burning molten hot blade effect, and it's interesting. I think it's quite smooth. It's really hard to argue against how like how nice those transitions are, especially if I grab the Crusade Ancient. You compare it to like a brush, I guess. There we go. So yeah, you can kind of see like it's a lot smoother, but I do kind of like the rugged effect that the brush gets. I feel like there's a lot more control over some of the transitions and the color placements, but I think that's mostly because I'm not good with the airbrush. Like this is only like the second or third time I've used it. The first time I've ever tried to do any kind of effect like this. So I'm still learning and still getting to grips with it. Like I definitely think some of the middle yellow section could have a bit more of the orange around the edge. But I do think it's looking really good. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. So I think we're pretty much done, to be fair. There's only one or two tiny little details that we're going to quickly bash out. Like I mentioned, he's got a skull there and like the sword handle and the sword hilt. And here he is, our Black Templar Armageddon Ancient, and man, I'm so happy with this. He's looking really, really good. A couple of things I'm really happy with, one minor thing I'm not, but overall it's looking super cool, and it was so much fun to come back to like the Black Templars and just the faction I started with and I loved. Yeah, it never gets old. I absolutely love them. So I guess the main thing I love is obviously the banner, man. Just look at it, like how can you not love it? It's such a cool thing. Like it's my favourite part about Ancients, and it was really fun with this project because like I've painted black armour, red shoulder pads, tabards like 100 times. I've done so many Black Templars and I still enjoy them, but it's really nice to have like the body that I can just kind of do, not on autopilot, but just, yeah, like go through the motions, enjoy it, and then just take something like this banner and just sink loads of time into it. There we go. Let's actually get zoom in as well so you can see it in all of its detail. Yeah, I love the red. I'm happy I went with the red rather than the black. I think it stands out and it looks really, really cool. I love the decals, that little skull in the top, the Templar cross, and then I put some decals on that bottom bit down there, just some random bits off the Templar sheet. Looking really, really nice. I'm super happy with it. I will say though, as much as I love the red, the one thing I'm not super happy with is though the flames that the orc skulls live on. Yeah, so this is the one section I'm not a massive fan of, because the flames are red, the backdrop is red, and even there was a purity seal there. It all kind of blends into one blob, which is a bit unfortunate. I was thinking, when I was painting it, I did a Stormcast Eternal a little while back, and I did blue flames for that, and I was thinking maybe, just maybe, I should have done... Oh dear, I should have done this, like the sort of blue flames that I did on this guy. Maybe I should have done that kind of colour with the flames, but I'd already painted it at that point, so I couldn't really go back. But no, super, super happy with the banner. I really, really like it. It's super cool. That gold is really nice. The checker pattern at the top, and there's some quite nice highlights as well from the dry brushing up there. Oh yeah, just there, like the ridges of and the folds at the top. Yeah, super, super happy with how the banners come out. Definitely my favourite part. And then yeah, just everything else in the Black Templar, like the Molten Sword, the tabard looks really nice. I'm super happy with that. And yeah, like overall it just looks super, super cool. And also, yeah, I've got the Crusade Ancient here because I mentioned I gave him the Power Sword so I could run him as a Crusade Ancient. And I do think he kind of looks the part, you know, like he's pretty like spot on. It's like big Molten Sword, big banner, huge stonking red shoulder pads. Like obviously he's missing some stuff like that angled shoulder pad. Oh my god, that skull is terrible. And then some of the chains on his fist. Oh, I didn't put there should be a transfer on that shoulder in there. Oh, I completely forgot. Yeah, that shoulder pad on our Ancient should have a Black Templar cross. I'll update that after this. But yeah, I think he kind of fits the part, you know, he's got the whole vibe of it. I think in a friendly game with some of my mates, like they'd be fine with it and it'd be okay. And there he is, our Black Templar Armageddon Ancient, and man, I love him. He's so cool. Like I absolutely love painting Ancients. They've got so much character, and you can put so much of your like personality and design choices in them. Like I've just mentioned, I was looking at him and I'm like, oh, I probably want to do another one because I want like a whole bunch of Ancients in my Black Templar Vindication Task Force army because they're like really cheap and they like add lots to the units they're in. So I was like, I could probably buy another one. That one was just £8 that I brought from a Bring and Buy. And I was like, what could I do? I was like, oh, I could do like a white banner with maybe some like black highlights, or I could do all sorts. There's just so much creativity. I love them, man. And luckily I've got one more lined up. I've got a Blade Guard Ancient living on my shelf that's going to be obviously for that army to attach to some Blade Guard veterans. So I'm keen to do that. That might be coming up in the coming weeks. But if you've got some Ancients or some cool banner designs, let me know in the comments. I always appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon, like these lovely people here. I always appreciate your support. But as always, thank you for watching. Drop a like and subscribe, and tune in next time. Bye.